Sooner fans, fast and furious on the message boards, so they are not disappointing us. They love their recruiting. Of course, that's the lifeblood of college football. Let's get the latest from Parker Thune. KREF is the destination each and every day, Monday through Friday at noon Central Time, and also OU Insider on Rivals. Parker, what's going on?
Not a whole lot, Mark. Always appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, let's get to the recruiting, because if we rewind a year, fans weren't particularly happy at the outset of the summer, but much happier at the conclusion on National Signing Day when the class ranked in the top 5 in the country. And there are indicators that say that we're following the same trend.
No doubt. And by the time this video goes public and hits the YouTube stream links, what'll likely have happened by then is Oklahoma will have secured the pledge of the nation's #1 running back in the 2024 class, Taylor Tatum, out of Longview, Texas, which would be commit number 15 for Oklahoma in this 2024 cycle. And it took much the same trajectory as you referenced of the Sooners' inaugural class under Brent Venables in 2023, where you have a little bit of that early summer lull because of the philosophy and the policy that Venables and his staff have espoused, which is to say that, hey, you know what, don't commit here until you're done taking visits. And once you do commit here, you're done taking visits. You're not allowed to go anywhere else. So because of that, generally the bulk of Oklahoma's commitments, as long as Venables is head coach, the bulk of those pledges are going to come in the late summer and early fall. And we're starting to see the surge for Oklahoma right now on the recruiting trail. I believe the number is 6 commits so far in the month of July, if I'm not mistaken. But late June, early July has really given rise to some momentum on the trail for the Sooners. And assuming they lock down the pledge from Tatum here, that'll be a huge step in the right direction towards closing on what could be another elite recruiting class after the Sooners signed the #4 class in the nation a year ago.
Parker, who in particular are you keeping your eye on concerning, besides the obvious that's coming up a little bit later after this record that you've already addressed, but some of the big targets coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. Oklahoma is considered the leader across the industry for the 2 top defensive linemen in the country. IMG Academy defensive tackle David Stone, who's a native of Del City, Oklahoma, works out very conveniently for the Sooners there. And then Williams Nwaneri, the nation's top-ranked defensive end out of Lee's Summit, Missouri. Oklahoma signed his former high school teammate Caden Green, a 4-star offensive lineman, in the 2023 cycle. They've got very strong relationships with the folks out at Lee's Summit North High. The head coach of that program, Jamar Mosey, is a former Sooner, a member of the 2000 national championship team. So Stone and Nwaneri are kind of the 2 guys that are expected to be the cornerstones, if you will, the capstones, perhaps, as a more accurate term to describe what they are expected to be to this Oklahoma recruiting class, if indeed the Sooners can close out their recruitments with pledges.
Parker, I'm going to connect the obvious dots here, because Oklahoma has been able to sign standout defensive linemen in their recent history, but just typically like one guy, not the volumes and the layers that you need at that position. Bring in Brent Venables. He's able to say, hey, look at what I've done at Clemson, look at the NFL player development, and voila, we see the fruition right now.
Yeah, certainly. And you kind of mentioned it, Mark. Oklahoma has been able to get a big boy in the defensive trenches every now and again on the recruiting trail. Think about Neville Gallimore in the class of 2015, Jalen Redmond in the class of 2018. But they haven't signed a composite 5-star defensive lineman. I believe you got to go all the way back to the class of 11, maybe the class of 2012. It's been a while, needless to say. The Sooners are now on the verge of getting on the board once again with a 5-star defensive lineman twice over in this class between Stone and Nwaneri. And I think that is the manifestation of what Sooner fans expected on the recruiting trail, with Venables bringing in Todd Bates and fast rising young assistant coach Miguel Chavis with him from Clemson when he took the Oklahoma job. So all in all, this has the chance to be a foundational class for Oklahoma as they prepare to make that transition to the SEC next July 1st. Because as you know well, Mark, in the SEC, you got to have capable, even dominant big men up front in the defensive trenches to be able to contend with the likes of Alabama and Georgia and LSU. It's a different ball game in the SEC, and you got to win the battle up front, both offensively and defensively. Under Bill Bedenbaugh, the Sooners have always had a strong offensive line, but defensive line, on the other hand, has been a point of weakness for this program in recent years. The goal is that is no longer the case once they're playing SEC ball next fall.